We started the topic of karma yesterday. And I'm titling this talk Karma, Wholesome Karma, What We Set in Motion. So, karma, we mentioned, is a tricky topic. It causes many misconceptions. And there's, a variety of Buddhist beliefs about the teaching and how it operates and affects us as Dharma practitioners. So this morning, I want to focus on wholesome karma. And in the simplest of terms, I'm looking at karma being considered our intentions and actions. And they're not inert, they have a force. And they can have a force for good, for benefit, for skill, for thriving. Um, the Buddhist teachings of karma, from everything that I can see, most of us agree they're not deterministic. It's not a rigid mechanical process, but more of a flexible, fluid, dynamic process. And not all conditions in our experience can be ascribed to karma. So if we look at there's no set linear relationship between a particular action and its result, um, we're saying that a karmic effect of an action, it's not determined only by the action or the deed, but also by the nature of the person who takes the action, by the circumstances in which it's done. So, in looking at wholesome karma, I want to look at it through the lens of the Rose Apple Sutta. And this is a sutta that shifts karma away from the misunderstanding of a moral accounting and really points us towards the cultivation of conditions that support freedom, happiness, uplift, awakening. So in the sutta, the Buddha recounts his life before awakening. And interestingly, he's remembering his childhood here, not his past life, So we talked about a little bit about that yesterday. But sitting under this rose apple tree and not doing anything in particular, just hanging out with himself. Those are my words, they're not in the sutta. He entered a state of mind and body, which he characterized by, which he said was characterized by joy and ease. So in the sutta, they point to a question that he asks himself. He says, why am I afraid of this kind of pleasure, of joy and ease? And I think he might have also had thoughts like this. I don't know. But is this too boring or too simple? Was it too easy? Is it okay to feel pleasure when the world is still full of suffering? Um, it, and it was so easy. Shouldn't it be harder? So, what strikes me about the Rose Apple Sutta memory, the memory that he has, is that the experience was really natural, unforced, not strategically cultivated. So his intention is present, but so is receptivity. And that says a lot because our practice is based on receptivity. So again, I kind of look for ways that I can find that within some of the translations that I'm reading of the sutta. But it also suggests a more subtle point about wholesome karma, that wholesome karma is not only about doing, but it's also about allowing. It's about remembering and about trusting wholesome conditions. So to me, that points to a shift and brings more understanding into how we see karma, that karma is more learning from conditions. What conditions lead to our freedom, lead to more ease and to more pleasure. And that we're looking for opportunities for curiosity and questioning our experience instead of just judging it or thinking we know what it meant. And that there's a kind of natural kindness that develops for one's experience. I also was thinking about it. It also has us loosen our views that equate goodness with struggle, so that we're really willing to revise some of these inherited views, a Protestant work ethic, or it's not real unless I really paid for it. But to revise these views about what's good and what's spiritual. So in my restatement, really from my cultural standing and from my experience, when we talk about karma, wholesome karma, we're not talking about controlling the outcome. We're really talking about, I'm sorry, we're not really talking about getting life to cooperate with our wishes. And that is what makes karma tricky, because it doesn't really work that way. I haven't seen it work exactly that way. I'd like to consider it more about what's being set in motion, in our bodies, in our relationships, in our communities, in even the wider culture. So today being Martin Luther King Day, in the US, I'm going to use a quote from him. And this is, from what I can see, this is a direct quote. Every action that we take must be guided by the determination that it shall be a constructive action. I'll just say it again. Every action that we take must be guided by the determination that it shall be a constructive action. Because when I read that statement, I heard something which I would call karmic, that he's not promising constructive action will immediately succeed. He's not necessarily saying it's easy, or rewarded or even recognized, but he is talking about action having a force, and we're responsible for the directions we choose. And the word determination that he chose stuck with me, because this used to be a very loud, hard word for me, determination, with a lot of strength and effort. And it's really grown more quiet, like more of a quiet determination that's less dependent on capital S success for what I intend. So I'm going to go back to the Rose Apple Sutta, because I think the Buddha is talking about something similar, that awakening doesn't come from harshness, punishment, relentless striving, even when it's concurrent with good intentions for awakening. And that really kind of strikes me. Like, I always thought, oh, if I just intend for a kind of awakening process, and I'm pushing myself, that those good intentions could overcome that harshness. And he's saying from his years of experience with harsh ascetic practices that it really didn't work that way. So today, here in California, you can go out to a park and have the entrance fees waived. Now, I'm not going to be able to get to a park today. And Newsom actually is going against this federal level where they're not waiving entrance fees on Martin Luther King Day. I wish I could get out to a park today. I probably won't be able to. But as we meditate today, near a tree or not, in the park or not, I'd like to consider that our intention to meditate can come with not needing to accomplish anything, not needing to fix the world, but simply to be with yourself, with myself, with ourselves, and see what we receive, because that will condition what we set into motion. Okay, I'll end here.